Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Language Arts Gallery. Today, we're going to talk about day 5 of writing a personal narrative, and we're going to talk about peer review for young learners. So please remember to subscribe to my channel so you get all my academic writing videos, and you can find this resource and all my academic writing resources linked in the video description. So let's get started talking about peer review. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work through our peer review process, and that's going to include going over the different rhetorical features of our personal narrative. So I think it's important before we begin to introduce the peer review process that we review those different rhetorical features. And by now, our students should understand what this genre of writing is. It's a true story from their own life. Because it's a true story from their own life, they're going to be using personal pronouns like I, me, my, we, and our, because they're writing from the first person point of view. And like all good writing, it's got a beginning, a middle, and an ending, or an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So our introduction should be engaging the reader. We should introduce the characters and the setting. I always remind my students that the setting is where and when the story takes place. I think that's important for our students up through middle school and even into high school, but I think it's especially important with our young learners. And if our story is organized around problem and solution, we want to introduce the challenge that our main character is facing. Remember, our body is where we're going to develop the plot. And we talked about using those sequence words earlier in our previous lessons to develop the sequence of events. And in the end, we want to bring about a resolution to the problem if we've organized our writing around problem and solution. But more importantly, we want to talk about how this experience made us feel and what we've learned from it. So we talked about that in previous lessons. We talked about adding our feelings about the event we're describing. So now we want to get into the peer review process. Now, I think it's really important to model peer review for our students because it may not be something that they've worked through before. This is an opportunity to use our students as resources. I really lean on my tier 3 students in peer review because these are the students who are most familiar with this process. These are the kids that have worked with me one-on-one, or perhaps they've worked in small group settings. So even our tier 2 or our tier 3 students, they're probably more familiar with this than our tier 1 students. So this is a great chance to create an inclusive classroom, bring those kids to the front of the class, and get them to be resources for their peers. So I'll always model this with my tier 2 or tier 3 students. So we want to introduce what revising is and what editing is and how they're different. When we're revising our work, and we've been doing that throughout these 5 lessons, we're making changes to our work to make it better. We're adding sequence words, we're adding feelings, we might be adding details about the setting. Those are all ways we revise our writing. Because we're going to be publishing this, we also want to make sure that we're editing our work so that our spelling, our grammar, and our punctuation are all perfect. Okay, and I always stress, it's something that it's part of my classroom expectations, but I always stress in the peer review process, we want to be polite, we want to be respectful, and we want to focus on constructive criticism. I think it's really important that we give examples and non-examples of what this looks like. So here, I've got a non-example. The first sentence is unclear and stupid. I don't even know what you're saying. So we don't want to talk to our classmates like that, right? We want to give details about what that one particular sentence or paragraph is missing and what we can add to make it better. You know, that first sentence doesn't really get my attention. I would add, or I might change it to make it better. And I think it's also important to let our students know that just because you get feedback doesn't mean you need to change it. Those ideas are just that. They're ideas, and they're there to help us get better. So our students will go back to their seats, and they'll work through a checklist for the beginning, the middle, and the ending of the story. And that checklist looks like this. Each student will have that. They'll have the opportunity to check the writing that they're reading against the elements of the checklist and make a comment if they think it's necessary. This is also a great way, not just for students to help their peers, but to review the rhetorical features of the essay and to make their own writing better. So thank you for joining me for this video and for all 5 videos of this genre. Please remember to subscribe to my channel so you get all my academic writing videos, and I'll see you in our next video at the Language Arts Gallery.